Hi guys, welcome back. Some things just work better in pairs, and that includes older graphics cards. Just listen to this lovely pair. In part 4 of our multi-GPU video series, we are checking out a pair of Radeon HD 4870's. Released in June 2008 with a price tag of just $299 USD, the HD 4870 offered remarkable value against the more expensive Nvidia 200 series cards. This terascale GPU was built on a 55nm process, featuring 800 shading units, a 750 MHz core clock, and either 512MB or 1GB of brand spanking new GDDR5 memory. The card operates at 150W TDP and uses a PCIe Gen 2 connection. Before jumping into the benchmarks, let's take a closer look at these cards. They're both made by XFX, and if I'm not mistaken, they follow the reference design. These cards are 2 slot wide, require 2 6-pin power connectors, and offer 2 DVI ports along with an S-video output, pretty standard for this era. I have to say, the contrast between the black PCB and the red heatsink paint looks good. Each card is held together by 14 screws, making them super easy to take apart. The thermal paste wasn't dried up and probably still usable. And just like its predecessor, the HD 3870, the heatsink is a solid chunk of copper, should be more than enough to keep the temps under control. And now for something rather special. And for those new to the channel, the test bench consists of an i7-6850K which is overclocked to 4.5 GHz. I'm using Asus ROG Strix X99 motherboard. There are 32 gigs of memory and, of course, we are using Windows 7. Let's not delay any further. First up, 3D Mark Vantage. Using the Extreme preset at 1080p, both cards hit 99% utilization, just how I like it. This pair of HD 4870's delivered nearly 9400 points, showing some remarkable gains over not just the 8800 GTX, but also its predecessor, the HD 3870. Damn! We see similar margins in Heaven benchmark, where the pair of 4870's scored just under 1000 points. And get this, a single 4870 actually outperforms 2 3870's in this test, and that's some serious progress. First impressions? Heck yeah, these are some solid gains. But before we move on to gaming tests, let's check power consumption. After all, efficiency plays a big role in choosing your next GPU, RTX 5090. Here's the power draw graph. The total system consumption at the wall shows that the 4870's squeezed in just under 400 watts, only slightly better than a pair of 8800 GTX's, but also about 130 watts more than the 3870's. And now on to the games. In addition to my usual dual GPU lineup, I'm also adding new titles as we progress in the series. Let's start with 2013's Tomb Raider. I'm sure most of you approve. In CROSSFIRE, the 4870's pushed an average of 63 FPS on high settings with near perfect scaling. I approve.
Guys, you smell that? Yeah, camera off.
Next, Call of Duty 4. Did I mention I love the voice acting in this game? The 4870's delivered a battery smooth 141 FPS on average, with 1% lows just under 60. Interestingly, the 8800 GTX wasn't far behind, only about 15% slower. Looking at the 3870's, was the 512MB of VRAM holding them back?
Incoming!
Who doesn't remember and love Battlefield 3? The mission Going Hunting, where you hop onto an F-18, remains one of my all-time favourite gaming moments. Using the high preset, we hit an average of 63 FPS, though 1% lows dropped to 22. Once again, a superb crossfire scaling. Now the big question, can it run Crysis? Yes it can. With medium settings, a pair of 4870's pushed an average of 85 FPS, with decent 1% lows at 52. However, I've got to say, this might be the last time I actually include Crysis in testing. That full screen bug, which makes it feel like it's running at 24 FPS, is driving me nuts. I know, it can be fixed with a custom resolution. However, suggestions what to replace this game with are really welcomed. Thank you. Oh yeah, 2008's Race Driver Grid is next. Despite leaning more towards arcade racing, game still offers hours of fun and challenging gameplay. With maxed out settings, except for blur of course, I saw an average of 113 FPS with 1% lows sitting at 55. Even single card pushed above 60 FPS, so scaling here was decent too.
Joe's pleasure, pal. It's Vito speaking.
Vito, why didn't you come home last night? I was worried sick.
Mama?
Poor Vito. First, Rosie Palm and her 5 sisters, and now this? MAFIA 2 is a must for dual GPU testing. A pair of 4870's put on a good show. Medium settings delivered 75 FPS on average, outperforming a pair of 8800 GTX's by 14% and the 3870's by 11%. However, bumping the preset to high absolutely tanked performance, dragging FPS well below 60. Here we go. The HD4870 was world's first GPU to feature GDDR5 memory and to surpass 1 teraflop of compute performance. At the time, that was groundbreaking. And the best part? It did it at a price point that put Nvidia's 200 series cards in the shadows.
We need some money from you. How much money do you have in your pocket?
I would have loved to see their faces when the so-called underdog was actually leading in so many game benchmarks. Not going to lie, it was good fun testing these 4870's. Scaling worked really well in most games, and I had little trouble running them in CROSSFIRE. But I'm not done with the HD 4000 series just yet. In the next episode though, I'm absolutely handing the mic over to Nvidia. So, what do you guys think? Did you enjoy this video? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next one.